On a warm summer evening in 1880, as the sun dipped below the horizon and dusk settled over Tallahassee, Florida, a peculiar glow appeared in the distance. Rising from the dark expanse of the Wakulla Swamp, this light was unlike anything local residents had seen before. It wasn't the moon, and it certainly wasn't the setting sun. No, this was something entirely different. A flame-like beacon shooting up into the night sky, flickering and dancing like a giant unseen campfire. This is the Wakulla Volcano, a mystery that captivated and confounded Floridians for over half a century. From 1860 until the early 1900s, this strange light, accompanied by a towering column of smoke, could be seen from miles around, sparking wild speculation, daring expeditions, and enduring legends. But just as suddenly as it appeared, the Wakulla Volcano vanished. The smoke and flame that had become a fixture on the horizon for decades disappeared overnight, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions. What caused this enigmatic phenomenon? Was it truly a volcano or something else entirely? And why did it vanish without a trace? Welcome to Mysteries of the Marsh, where we dive headfirst into the Sunshine State's strangest tales and untamed mysteries. I'm Samantha, a 7th-generation Floridian who's grown up immersed in stories of bizarre phenomena and the curious characters who've carved their mark on our state's history. Hidden in the murky waters of the Wakulla Swamp lies one of Florida's most perplexing mysteries. A volcano that locals claimed belched smoke and flames into the southern sky. Was this a genuine geological marvel, a smoldering fire, or simply another tall tale born from the steamy imagination of Florida's wilderness? Through first-hand accounts, outlandish theories, and scientific evidence, we'll illuminate the mystery that flickered above these ancient waters for generations. So grab your bug spray and a healthy dose of skepticism. This journey into the swamp is about to get strange. The Wakulla Swamp is a place so dense, remote, and teeming with life that even seasoned explorers thought twice about venturing in. The area, part of the Big Bend region of Florida, is a mosaic of wetlands, rivers, and towering cypress trees draped in Spanish moss. Beneath the surface lies a vast network of caves and springs, including Wakulla Springs, one of the deepest and largest freshwater springs in the world. Exploring Wakulla was, and still is, a formidable task. Thick vegetation, murky waters, and the constant threat of alligators, snakes, and biting insects made it a perilous place for anyone daring to navigate its depths. Even the air feels alive, humid and heavy, carrying the faint scent of decaying plant matter and blooming flowers. It's no wonder the area earned a reputation for being mysterious and otherworldly. In fact, Wakulla's jungle-like appearance made it the perfect stand-in for far-off exotic locales. In 1939, Hollywood came calling, using the swamp as the backdrop for the classic Tarzan Finds a Son, starring Johnny Weissmuller. The towering cypress trees and dark reflective waters brought to life the untamed wilderness of Tarzan's fictional jungle. Wakulla Springs' underwater clarity also earned it a role in several underwater sequences, showcasing its ethereal beauty. But decades before Hollywood discovered Wakulla's dramatic potential, the swamp had already earned a reputation for mystery and spectacle. Its dense vegetation and shadowy waters had witnessed something far stranger than movie cameras and film crews. The Wakulla Volcano first entered the public consciousness on a Sunday night in June 1880, when a bright light appeared in the sky southeast of Tallahassee. As reported in the Tallahassee Patriot and later the New York Times, the glow was initially mistaken for a house fire. But when it returned night after night, always in the same spot, folks started to wonder. Observers described the light as brighter than the rising moon, resembling a large fire shooting its flaming tongue high up into the upper realms. Passing clouds reflected the glow, creating an otherworldly spectacle that could be seen for miles. Residents of Wakulla County, near the swamp's edge, reported hearing loud, rumbling noises accompanying the light, rattling windows and nerves alike. The mysterious light quickly became the talk of the town, and soon the entire state. Newspapers from Jacksonville to Pensacola ran stories about the so-called volcano of the Florida swamp, weaving tales of a hidden, hellish caldera lurking in the depths of Wakulla's wetlands. But the Wakulla volcano wasn't just a fleeting curiosity. For over 50 years, the smoke and flame continued to appear, becoming a permanent fixture of Florida folklore. In an era before electric lights and skyscrapers, the volcano's eerie glow served as a beacon for sailors navigating the Gulf Coast, a landmark for travelers, and an object of fearful fascination for all who beheld it. As word of the Wakulla volcano spread, so did speculation about its origins. One thing was certain: Florida was not known for its volcanic activity. The state's flat, sandy terrain and limestone bedrock seemed an unlikely host for a fiery mountain. Geologists were quick to point out that Florida sits in the middle of the North American plate, far from any active fault lines or tectonic boundaries. The nearest volcanoes were thousands of miles away, in Mexico and the Caribbean. If there was indeed a volcano in Wakulla County, it would be an anomaly of the highest order. But if not a volcano, what could be causing the smoke and the flame? Theories abounded, ranging from the plausible to the fantastical. Some suggested that the light was caused by burning gases escaping from fissures in the earth. Others proposed that a massive deposit of peat buried beneath the swamp had somehow caught fire and was slowly smoldering away. A few even whispered about the possibility of a secret Confederate weapons cache left over from the Civil War that had spontaneously ignited. And then there were the more imaginative explanations. In an era when Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth captivated readers, some wondered if the Wakulla volcano might be a gateway to a subterranean world, home to prehistoric beasts and long-lost civilizations. Others saw the hand of the supernatural at work, imagining the swamp as a portal to the underworld, or the smoke as a sign of an angry god. As the years wore on and the volcano continued to baffle, a succession of adventurers, scientists, and curiosity seekers set out to uncover its secrets. In 1883, a New Orleans newspaper reported that a party of cedar cutters, working along the rivers near the swamp, had discovered the source of the smoke, an old, turpentine-soaked pine tree that had been ignited by lightning and was now burning like a giant candle. The story quickly spread, and for a moment it seemed the mystery had been solved. But the burning tree theory didn't hold up to scrutiny. For one, the smoke and light had been appearing for decades, far longer than any single tree could burn. More importantly, the location of the supposed tree didn't match the landmarks used by eyewitnesses to pinpoint the volcano's location. Over the years, dozens of expeditions ventured into the swamp, seeking the elusive volcano. Hunters, surveyors, and adventurers hacked their way through the dense underbrush, braving alligators, water moccasins, and clouds of mosquitoes in their quest for answers. Some claim to have found evidence of the volcano's existence: scorched earth, blackened rocks, and strange sulfurous odors rising from stagnant pools. Others, equipped with compasses and maps, hope to triangulate the smoke's source. only to find their instruments spinning wildly in the swamp's magnetic mire. But no matter how many expeditions set out, the Wakulla volcano remained maddeningly out of reach. The dense vegetation and treacherous footing of the swamp posed an almost insurmountable barrier, and those few who claimed to have found the site were never able to lead others back to it. As one explorer, Edward Ball, wrote in his 1891 book Rambles in Florida, "The Wakulla volcano is like a will-o'-the-wisp, always beckoning, always receding, and always involving its pursuers in difficulties and dangers." In the 1930s, after decades of fruitless searching, a new theory emerged that seemed to offer a plausible explanation for the Wakulla volcano. In a letter to the state geologist, a man named W.T. Cash proposed that the smoke and light were caused not by a volcano, but by a burning peat bog. Cash, a lifelong resident of the area, had heard stories of the volcano from his mother, who had seen the glow as a young woman in the 1870s. W.T. Cash wrote, "The volcano, I believe, was caused by a hillock of burning peat, which, as you are aware, is a mineral constituent of more than one Florida swamp, and is particularly plentiful in the Everglades. This hillock of peat caught fire during one of those burn-offs, which have often taken place in our swamps in extremely dry weather. When the swamp fire had exhausted itself, the slow-burning peat continued to burn, and the fire, having eaten far into and even under the hillock, continued until the hillock was consumed." Cash's theory made sense. Peat, formed from the compressed remains of ancient plants, is known to burn slowly and steadily, sometimes for years at a time. Peat fires can smolder underground, creating sinkholes and sending up columns of smoke and flame. What's more, peat deposits were known to exist in the Wakulla swamp and surrounding areas. If a peat fire had started during a particularly dry season, as Cash suggested, it could have persisted for decades, fed by the dense layers of organic matter beneath the swamp's surface. But the real mystery was not how the flames started, it was how it ended. After burning brightly for decades, the Wakulla volcano suddenly disappeared. One evening, residents looked toward the horizon, expecting the familiar glow, only to find darkness in its place. What could have caused the abrupt end to something that had lasted so long? Cash had a theory for that too. He suggested that the Great Charleston earthquake of 1886, which had sent tremors as far south as Florida, might have disrupted the water table beneath the swamp. A sudden influx of water could have extinguished the fire, flooding the smoldering peat and silencing the smoke and flames for good. While the theory was plausible, it remained just that, a theory. Other explanations suggested a shift in the swamp's ecosystem or a natural depletion of the peat itself. Yet no conclusive evidence was ever found to pinpoint exactly where the burning took place, or why it ended so suddenly. While the Wakulla volcano may have faded from the public eye, the search for its truth continued. In 1956, an expedition set out to track down the site, armed with old maps and the fading memories of those who claimed to have seen it. A newspaper article from that time reported, J.H. Kirkland, 231 East 6th Avenue, advisor for Explorer Post 100, was scheduled to leave shortly after noon today with about 8 members of the scouting group to attempt to find the site of the so-called volcano which has fascinated residents of the Big Bend for more than a century. Kirkland and his scouts planned to focus their search on an area near the junction of Wakulla, Leon, and Jefferson counties, where he and a hunting companion had once stumbled upon a rocky depression that might have been the volcano's remains. But, like so many expeditions before them, Kirkland and his team returned empty-handed. The terrain, they reported, was simply too dense and overgrown to allow for a thorough search. In a way, their failure was a perfect ending to the story of the Wakulla Volcano. For all of the advances in science and technology, for all the satellite maps and geological surveys, the swamp still held on to its mysteries. In the end, the true nature of the Wakulla Volcano may never be known. Despite decades of investigation and speculation, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to explain the source of the smoke and light. But in a way, the mystery is part of the volcano's enduring appeal. For generations of Floridians, the strange glow on the horizon was a source of wonder and imagination, a reminder that the world still held secrets waiting to be discovered. Today, the legend of the Wakulla Volcano lives on in local folklore and fading newspaper clippings. And who knows, maybe someday a lucky hunter or hiker will stumble upon a blackened crater deep in the swamp, or a lone cypress tree with an ancient, charred scar running up its trunk. And maybe, just maybe, the Wakulla Volcano will finally give up its secrets. In a world where every corner of the map has been filled in, where Google Earth lets us zoom in on our own backyards, there's something refreshing about a mystery that endures. We may never know for certain what caused that eerie light to flicker and dance over the swamp for so many years. But in the end, maybe the mystery is enough. Whether it was a volcano, a peat fire, or just the biggest Florida tall tale to ever rise out of the swamp, the mystery of the Wakulla Volcano is a reminder that some questions might never be answered, and maybe that's okay. Florida's full of strange stories, and this is just one of many. Enjoy learning about Florida history? Follow us on Instagram at Mysteries of the Marsh for photos, newspaper clippings, and other insights into each episode. And stay tuned, we will be releasing new episodes every Saturday. Until next time, watch where you step, and please, don't feed the gators.